I wanted to get on with another piece that Jennifer Rubin, columnist for the Washington Post, has put out there. She, now she's a Jew, granted, but she's finally doing something that a lot of Jews or Muslims or Hindus or people of other religions hesitate to do. Atheists aren't afraid to do it. But members of other organized religions hesitate and show a lot of anxiety or fear in attacking another religion. So I have deep respect for any Jew who will write about this stuff in the manner in which it needs to be written about. Jennifer Rubin is one of those people. And in this piece that she had up the other day, she is reporting that white Christians have been holding their numbers, white Christians in general, in terms of their share of the U.S. population. But they haven't been holding their numbers for the reasons one might expect. This organization, the Public Religion Research Institute, reported in its annual survey just last week, quote, the slight increase in white Christians between 2018 and 2020 was driven primarily by an uptick in the proportion of white mainline Protestants, those are the non-evangelicals, white mainline Protestants, and a stabilization in the proportion of white Catholics, end quote. Now, she goes on to point out that most striking and most significant for the politics of the United States 2021 is this. This is also from that report. Quote, since 2006, white evangelical Protestants have experienced the most precipitous drop in affiliation, shrinking from 23% of Americans in 2006 to 14% in 2020. That proportion has generally held steady since 2017, 2018, and 2019, end quote. Now, that may seem contradictory to what I've been talking about, but let me go on here. Jennifer asked the chief executive of this Public Religion Research Institute, PRRI. And he also is the author, Robert Jones, he's the author of White Too Long, The Legacy of White Supremacy in American Christianity. And so she asked this guy, Robert Jones, if the decline in evangelical affiliation was related to the increasingly political nature of churches belonging to the white evangelicals, or what I call Christian fascists. His answer, quote, in a word, yes, it's clear that white evangelical Protestants have been losing ground among young people. And as they have shrunk over the last decade, their median age has risen from 53 years old to 56 years old, compared to a median age of 47 in the country overall, end quote. And then Rubin tries to explain it by saying it's not hard to figure out why these Christian fascists are losing young people and shrinking as a result. Going back to Robert Jones, the chief executive of PRRI, he said, quote, the positions that white evangelical churches have become known for as they have become more politicized And those positions include opposition to marriage equality, opposition to abortion, denial of climate change, anti-immigrant sentiment, anti-Muslim sentiment, all of that. Those ideas are strongly out of step with the values of younger Americans. And white evangelicals' unequivocal embrace of Trump also has them at odds with younger Americans. White evangelical Protestants, I'm still quoting Mr. Jones, white evangelical Protestants voted 84% for Trump in 2020. Only 35% of Americans under the age of 30 did the same. That's according to Pew's voter survey study, Pew Research. 84% of these Christian Nazis voted for Trump in 2020. There's no surprise for me there. So, in short, as white evangelical churches turn into, they're no longer places to worship Jesus of Nazareth. They are now MAGA political clubs, Nazi cells embedded in white Christianity. And many of the people who otherwise might have found a spiritual home in these churches have fled because these people are alienated, if not horrified, by what they see happening to their faith, including the abandoning of values such as inclusion and empathy. And if you are not a Christian, let me just assure you that inclusion and empathy were at the core, at least according to the tales that have been told about his ministry, they were at the core of the values of Jesus of Nazareth. Inclusion and empathy. Now, whether or not that's true about this man who claimed to be a Messiah, as did dozens of Jews during the time that Jesus of Nazareth was walking around the Middle East, claiming to be a Messiah was not unique to Jesus. Absolutely not. But anyway, I digress. So the people who have been tending white evangelical churches up to the age of Trump are now leaving in droves because of what these churches have become. And what they have become is what I've been talking about for a long time. Nests of American Nazism hiding behind a filthy brand of Christianity that is an embarrassment, an absolute embarrassment to anybody who believes in the purported mission or message of Jesus of Nazareth. So the price, Jennifer Rubin points out, the price of politicizing religion is therefore bad not only for our politics, but also for the religious communities that then, because they've been politicized, chase away people who might want to go to a Christian church for whatever comfort they think exists there. That comfort is not there unless you are a rabid Trumpian American Nazi. Then you'll be right at home in these Christian cells of degeneracy. You'll feel right at home. Now, Rubin goes on to point out that this disgraced bum's defeat in the presidential election of 2020 did not break the ties between the MAGA political movement and these churches. No. To the contrary, according to Mr. Jones, the head of the Public Religion Research Institute, to the contrary, he said, quote, "The rise of QAnon is a troubling example of how a Trump-supporting movement can continue even when Trump has been removed from center stage to the wings." He added, His organization, PRRI, recently found that about 1/4 of white evangelical Protestants and nearly 3 in 10 Republicans believe the core bullshit, my word, of QAnon, including this belief that, quote, true American patriots may have to resort to violence to save our country, end quote. This is not what Trump started, but this is what Trump became a focal point for over the past 5 years. You know, Trump is a licentious, miserable son of a bitch who would have had sex with his own daughter if he would have thought he could get away with it. He was just a scummy person that was antithetical to anything and everything taught in the Christian religion. And yet the Christians went for him like stink on a pile of cow dung. And I've never been able to figure that out. Well, I know the standard reasons that are put out there, but my God, a filthy pig like Trump? But if you dig just an inch below the filth that represents Donald Trump, you find some core beliefs of these Christian fanatics, these Christian fascists, that women are shit and should be used. They should be used for sex, for regeneration, and then, put back in the kitchen where they belong. Gays should be shot. Immigrants are filthy. Muslims and Jews are at best suspect, and at worst, they believe in false trash religions and they have to be eliminated. I mean, QAnon and Trump and evangelical Christianity, it's all there. Now, granted, Trump, like I said, didn't put all that together. That's slowly been happening in this country since the 1980s. I mean, really happening. Yes, there were moments when evangelical Christianity rose up in this country, but it was never this destructive in a political sense, as far as in a sense of a free human mind, or the belief in science, or a wonder at the world, not as a place to exploit, but as a place to try to fit into and be part of. Evangelical Christianity over the years that I'm aware of its teachings was all about saving your immortal soul from the lake of fire and the demon Satan. But it's changed now. Now the demons are people who want to do well, do good by doing well, or do well by doing good. Either way, helping their fellow citizens, saving life on the planet. This is what the Christian evangelicals, the Christian fascists, are fighting against. Oh, Jesus, God, so to speak. True American patriots may have to resort to violence to save the country. That's not going to be. Somebody keeps referring, I know the slime on the Fox sewer referred to this as a second civil war. No, this will be the first religious war in this country. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.